So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ben. I live in London. I'm a principal engineer working at ATG in the theater industry. My role is mostly to enable the engineers at the company, coordinate across the company to make sure that large initiatives can be planned successfully in the future.
And what inspired you to join the Leadership Landing Program?
So I knew Sarah. She introduced me to the program, and it felt like a really good fit for me as I was trying to level up a little bit my leadership. I had been stepping up in terms of responsibility for a while within the company that I was working at the time. I was taking on loads of different hats. I was kind of just doing loads of different things, and it was quite chaotic for me to plan out my career and plan out kind of what was next. And it was also a little bit invisible. Some of the work that I was doing was not always kind of perceived higher up because of the kind of chaotic nature of the business, I guess.
Where were you in your personal or professional growth journey before starting?
Yeah, so I'd been working in kind of the tech industry and the mobile industry for probably 10 years at the time. It'd been a while. I'd been kind of mostly growing my career ad hoc, taking on the challenges as they came in. But as I just mentioned, it kind of had reached a bit of a ceiling where because of the number of different hats I had to take on, the kind of chaotic nature, it felt quite difficult to plan that a little bit more, to be confident about my skills and my knowledge, and also to give the right amount of leadership support to the engineers within my teams.
And what did leadership or impact the words mean to you then? And what does it mean to you now?
What does it mean? So back then, it felt quite obscure. No, not obscure. I think I had a decent understanding of some of what was required, but maybe not fully understanding how I could apply my skills to it. It felt more like a set of like boxes to tick in terms of like, oh, I need to ensure that I provide this service, I provide this service, I'm able to do this, I'm able to support people in that way. But I didn't have the full understanding of how I could apply myself and my skills in that role. And I think now it means a little bit more around putting my strengths to the service of those different leadership qualities and leadership principles. And I have a better understanding of kind of how I can keep doing what I normally do and function in the way that I do, enabling the people and hopefully being a good leader.
Yeah, great. And which parts of the program stood out to you most? A particular session, a story, a reflection, or a tool?
Um, I think it's hard to pick up a single point that sticks out the most, but I think really what stood out the most is the approach. It was a collaborative program. We were working in groups. We were encouraged to share and open up with one another. And there was loads of different moments where we had kind of like big learning moments as a group. Kind of we felt more comfortable as we went through it. So I think for me, that's what stood out the most is the overall very collaborative approach and kind of very much a ongoing process that everybody had to actively take part of.
Nice. And was there a specific moment that shifted how you see yourself or your ability to influence others? I actually remember this moment, but I'm curious if you do.
It's hard to tell. It felt quite gradual. I was also very much still working during, so it felt like a continuous thing. I think I saw improvement pretty quickly in how my impact leveled up and how my perceived impact also leveled up pretty quickly. I'm not sure if I can pinpoint a specific moment.
I don't know if maybe I can remind you a little bit.
Mhm.
I think it happened in the week five, if I remember correctly, when we were discovering rationale. And then again, we brought rationale again a few weeks later, where we were figuring out what level we were and how to level up or level down. And what I remember of you back then is you really struggled to embrace your true nature and your true, let's say, talents that you bring to the table. And when you shifted your mindset of, wow, these are actually skills, and I'm going to bring them to the table in what I do, it was like another person in the room. So that's what I noticed. So I'm curious if you remember that at all. Now that
I
I
do.
trigger, because it was so many years ago, or like it was a while ago, so maybe you forget. But yeah.
I do. No, I do remember it. I think it's just for me, it didn't feel as like a quick shift and more a progressive one. I think what you're describing is what I felt through most of the process.
Mhm.
I think it took me a while to really unlock all of that thinking around truly being able to apply myself and use my skills. But I saw progress pretty quickly.
Yeah. And how did the program challenge or stretch you emotionally, mentally, or practically?
Interesting. I mean, emotionally challenging, yes. As I mentioned, it was a lot of group collaboration. There's a lot of vulnerability and opening up and kind of a lot of things that I'm not really familiar, like I wasn't really familiar with, I wasn't really good at in terms of like introspection, like trying to understand like, oh, why do I do this? Or why is this happening? Or why am I thinking this? And just trying to surface all of that and bring it to like a rational and understanding like how that makes me function. That was extremely difficult. That took a lot of time and effort. But it was also very rewarding. So
And which framework or exercise do you still use today? For example, your values map, metaphor about the dragons in your core, Enneagram, perhaps the shifting your cycles or worthy goals. Any framework in particular?
the values map definitely I keep using, and the kind of shifting cycle and how to apply myself. I think another one that I still use quite regularly is a couple of frameworks we used around active communication and de-escalation in leadership as quite a really necessary skill.
Hmm.
And it's really easy to do when you're in a very comfortable place and you know the team very well and you work with people very well. It's a lot harder to do once you start going further out and working with stakeholders that have very little context, very little knowledge. And that has been a very useful tool that I still use on a very regular basis today.
Wow, yeah. I should include that one next time when I ask this question because, yes, it's one of the most important ones, I think. And how was your approach to creating impact with colleagues, friends, or your community changed since completing the program?
It has shifted in a few ways. One is it has enabled me to delegate a little bit more. That's a thing I think most leaders struggle with as they grow up in seniority is understanding when to delegate and how to delegate. And that is a thing that I have gone way better with. And then I think also finding ways to connect and communicate effectively with a wider range of personalities and people.
Nice. And when you're delegating, is it just a matter of giving tasks to people, or are you using some of the things you learned about yourself to delegate better?
I'm very much using what I've learned about myself. I function as an enabler. I enjoy empowering people more than I enjoy driving specific approaches. So I've ended up creating more of what I call a hands-off approach, like setting the parameters and kind of enabling the people to be comfortable asking and kind of coming back for help if anything is a blocker or anything like that. And I can then focus. This is particularly useful in my role right now, being principal. I have to look at more the 6 to 12 months. And so I've been able to fully empower my team leads and being able to take care of the now to 3 months kind of approach. And I just set the right parameters, share expectations and values, ensure that our overall understanding of what we want to achieve is shared. And then after that, they do their thing. We have when there's like big impact or let's say like cross team things, an RFC process that lets them share back to ensure that we stay in line, but I don't have to be actively on top of everything. I'm
Oh,
able
that's
to disconnect
wonderful.
from
That's
it
such
as
a
much as
shift.
possible.
Hmm.
And yeah, it has really enabled me to lead at a larger scale compared to before when I would be very effective within, like, let's say, small teams because I could keep all the context in my head. But
Hmm.
as soon as that context was slipping out, it became a little bit more tricky to stay on top of it.
Yeah, wow. It's really great to hear. And what changes have you noticed in how you communicate, make decisions, or inspire others?
I mean, communication, I think I've touched on it a few times already.
Yeah.
It is something that I've always struggled with, not from a I'm a bad communicator, but more from a I am a paranoid communicator. I don't know how to put it. It's something we discussed, right? It was one of my big kind of like
Dragons.
weaknesses at Dragons, which is that I always feel like I'm not understood, even though I am. So I
Hmm.
tend to over communicate, which isn't always a bad thing. And that's kind of one of the things that I've learned to rely on, particularly when you talk at two stakeholders that are further removed. Sometimes reiterating the point a few times is kind of needed.
Hmm.
But I've learned to be able to let go of some of that fear of not being understood when I work with my inner circle. And so I'm able to use this kind of need of over communicating in the right places when
Yes.
I communicate to a larger scale, when there are less context, and being a little bit more verbose and a bit more communicative there is going to be helpful. And I'm able to rely on the framework of trust and understanding of how we want to approach project within the inner circle, where I don't need to communicate because I have this understanding that we're working on the same values, we're working on the same basis, and that's less required there.
Oh my gosh, that's music to my ears. You just described how to transform, let's say, the heady fire of a dragon into a superpower. And I love hearing that you're using values also with your teammates and stuff. It's really a place where trust is born from. So, really nice to hear, Ben. Have you seen any tangible results, such as improved collaboration, recognition, confidence, perhaps a promotion, better salary, balance in your work and life?
Absolutely. So I mentioned one of the thing that was happening to me in terms of like a ceiling was like I was taking on a lot of different hats, a lot of different responsibility, and it wasn't always fully understood or perceived. So in terms of recognition, that changed pretty quickly, actually. I think just through the improved confidence that I had in myself and the improved focus on the communication in the right areas, it made a pretty big difference in terms of being recognized for the effort and the value that I was bringing. In terms of collaboration, that took a little bit longer, but I think I've described like where I am today in my work collaboration is very much a result of that. So I think I can see that as a tangible result of it. And yeah, I mean, as a result, I landed a different job. I had a huge promotion as a result. And yeah, I now coordinate a pretty big project with multiple teams. I'm really happy about it. So been
Wow,
great.
that's so nice, so nice. And was the program worth the financial investment?
I mean, when I look at the results, definitely the fact that I am now in a better match in terms of fit, in terms of product and my passion as well. I mean, I work in theater. I'm a huge theater and musical fan, so it's been great. But also was able to have a sizable pay bump alongside the jump. I've been able to get to that level, I think, because I had the confidence and I had the ability to step into that role and yeah, demonstrate value.
Wow, thank you. And what would you tell someone who's considering joining the Leadership Landing?
Um, I would I would advise go for it. Don't be afraid, but be prepared for a challenging kind of introspection and a challenging look at yourself. It's not always going to be easy, but it is well worth the effort. So don't give up.
Ooh, I love that. Yes. What is it? Good things come from hard work, right?
Exactly.
And if this program had a ripple effect on the world, what do you think it would spark?
This is an interesting question. It's going to be a very personal answer, but I'm hoping, like, from what I took, and I think what some of the people in my cohort also took out of it, is just really an increase confidence in communication and increase in trust, which I think particularly nowadays the world could really do with some trust and good communication
Yeah,
could
that
improve a lot of
definitely ripples
things.
outward, right? We don't want to start talking politics now, right?
Let's not.
And looking back, what part of yourself did this program help you discover or strengthen?
We touched upon it a bit, right? Like the my taking on my weakness as like this dragon of like complete fear of miscommunication and turning that into something that I can use to communicate effectively definitely is something that I completely rediscovered in a new light. And I think it also helped me rediscover a bit of a passion that I had in tech and why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's really easy to get a little bit bogged down into the mundane of the work because at the end of the day, work is work. You go in the morning, you got a lot of things to do. It gets really chaotic at times and it gets overwhelming, and sometimes that makes you forget about all the creative aspect of it, all the interesting aspect of what you're doing, the change you can make. And I did feel like taking a step back from just purely the work and the delivery and then looking at it from a how do I fit within that? How does my strength and my personality fit within that framework? And what can I do? Help me be a little bit more excited about tech again.
Oh, lovely. And it helps that you work in an industry now that's a part of your inner passions.
Definitely.
Nice. And if your inner dragon could speak, what would it say about who you've become and the difference you're making now?
Not sure. It's a tough one. I hope you'd be proud of the change that I've done, like of how far I've gone within a few years, and yeah, of the type of work I'm doing and the hopefully positive impact I'm making on the engineers that are within my teams.
Oh, I love that. Now we're going to go through some quick ratings. So from 1 to 10 kind of answers. One being you're rating it very low. You don't agree with it. 10, you agree with it very, very high. So I'm just going to read out the question and you give a score from 1 to 10. I understand my core values and how they shape the way I lead and influence others.
Yeah, gonna put that as a 9. I do feel there's always new things to discover about oneself, so it's
Oh, I
never really
love that.
finished, but I have a better
The fact
understanding.
that you said that means to me you've learned the lessons. Next one. I feel more confident and authentic when creating impact or guiding others.
Yeah, I think probably a good 8, 8.5. Like it's still, I think confidence is still a thing I'm actively working on and is still continuing, but definitely I've been able to have positive impact in guiding others and I've had that feedback reflected back to me. So
Great. And I have practical tools to navigate motivation, communication, and growth conversations.
I think 10, like I mentioned, there's still that I'm using actively on a regular basis. So yes, definitely.
Great. And the program continues to have a positive effect on my work and relationships.
Same 10. I mean, still continues to use the tools that I've learned, continue to have a good effect on how I work.
Great. And I would recommend this program to others who want to increase their positive impact.
Yeah, I would say probably 9, just because of what I said. It is a challenge, and you have to make sure you have the bandwidth and the capability of taking it on right now. You shouldn't go into it if you do not have the energy to give to that, because otherwise you're just going to be wasting your time and effort. But otherwise, if you can, go for it.
Yeah, if you remember from the first day of the class, I always talk about you should only be here if you're committed.
Exactly.
Takes a lot of energy. And are there any questions which I didn't ask or anything that you feel like you still want to say?
No question, but yeah, just want to say once again, like I feel like it had a really positive impact on my life and my career. It's been a really good memory overall as well. It was like I said, while it was difficult, it was a really eye-opening experience. It was a really interesting experience. I think it brought our cool together closer as well as people, which was really good. And yeah, really, really happy I took the plunge.
Oh, thank you so much.